Welcome to the Sacad Guled Show, your front row seat to the journey of others, leaders, and change makers, redefining what's possible. And today, I'm so honored to have a man that who truly understands the language of business and the power of a value. Patrick, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you much, Sakata. It's an honor to be here. And I love how you opened up with defining what's possible. It's just
No,
so important these days.
I really appreciate you because you are a change maker in our community. I've known you for some time, and I've seen your activities and the stuff that you do
Yes.
for our community. So I really have to put that out there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ha-
It's a labor of love.
Awesome, thank you. Well, it's mutual, my friend. I'm going to introduce you guys to who Patrick is, and we will go from there. Patrick currently is the managing partner and CEO of Hill Capital Corporation, a private investment fund that invests growth capital directly in established small businesses. Patrick actively gives back to the community, which I know, with current civic engagement as a mentor for the Carleton School of Growth Fund at the University of Minnesota, lead organizer for 1 million Cubs in Eden Prairie, and actively serves in leadership roles for three children activities in Scouts, soccer, skiing, and baseball.
Yeah, we all love our kids. And yeah, that's probably some of the more meaningful at work.
Awesome, awesome. Patrick is an avid downhill skier, water skier, and loves boating and hiking with his family.
Yeah, love to get outdoors, man. Yeah.
Awesome. That's something that I need to try and overcome my fears.
Well, since winter is coming upon us, I teach skiing out at Buck Hill, and I would love to have you as my guest, and you and the kiddos come on out and bring the fam, and we'll teach them how to ski or enjoy an evening out there.
No,
So
definitely, because I've always, even though I'm a true Minnesotan,
yeah.
I've always, avoided the snow activities.
Yeah, well, and I grew up in Minnesota as well, and I don't ice skate really, so I get it. We all pick our different things that we do.
No, Patrick, thank you so much for offering that. You will see me there for sure.
Yes.
But most importantly, I really appreciate you on the show today, and we'll just dig in right away.
Yeah. Let's.
You started your first business at 4 years old and bought stocks at 10. Where did that early curiosity about money and business come from? Because it's very impressive.
Well, I think it's interesting from the curiosity was there to, as a young person to start a lemonade stand. And then when I bought some of my first shares, I first bought 10 shares of Coca-Cola at 10 years old.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it was, yeah, it was a really neat thing. But the why and the how is interesting because it you could be curious as a young person, but you need the catalyst to be able to do that. And so for me, the lemonade stand was my grandfather at the time. I grew up in Forest Lake, Minnesota, and my grandfather was quite an entrepreneur, but we didn't use that term back then. He was just a business owner, or even
Yes.
better, he's just trying to make a living,
Yeah, for sure.
like didn't really think about it like an entrepreneur, but he had owned the theater in town, the drive-in, the hub drive-in. But that's probably why I had that lemonade stand. I mean, unfortunately, he has since passed, so I
Yeah.
can't reconcile this. But the picture of me on LinkedIn and elsewhere of that lemonade stand, he drew that up. And so I'm thinking, he was the catalyst to be able to do that first lemonade stand. And that was probably the seeds that got planted in my heart and soul around entrepreneurship, which I didn't fully understand and appreciate up until a few years ago, quite frankly. And then with buying the stocks, it was the same thing. As a young person, that was all because of my dad. We didn't necessarily talk about money all that much. How that all came to be is because I
Yeah.
had older siblings, and my dad did not believe in giving the kids technology. So back in the day, it was an
Yeah.
Atari game system or a VCR. We were always the last family to have any of that stuff. So as a young kid, I would pepper my dad for, like I would want these things. And so when the holidays came around, I was, asking for these things. And he said, I'm not going to get you that, but we can talk about these things called stocks. I'm like, okay, well, let's figure that out.
Felt
So
like you were too young.
yeah, exactly. So that's how that came to be. And so those are fun and precious stories, which probably didn't feel so fun and precious at the time. Although the lemonade stand was cool,
Yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
it's very impressive
yeah, yeah.
because how many 4-year-olds can say today, they started a business and they buy stocks at 10 years old? So that's
Yeah, yeah, very much so. So very, very, very lucky for those beginnings, but didn't fully appreciate how lucky I was up until recently. So
no, it's amazing what our fathers, do for us, and after they paved the way, right?
yeah, and it is all about those adult mentors and young people's lives, and hopefully it comes from parents, but the whole community is really responsible, and that's why I'm also a big believer in youth leadership and why I do a lot with scouts and so forth. But yeah, we do have to help the young people.
Awesome. Um, Patrick, your book, Breakout Valuation, even though I've placed my first order, which I don't know how I never bought it, is such a gem. And I will have it by next week for sure. Do you
Sure.
want to talk about the gem in that book and what is it about?
Yeah, the real gem in the book is about vision. And it was so fun preparing to talk to you today because I know in your book, chapter 2, you're talking about vision and it's spot on. It's so
Thank you.
critical.
Thank you so
And
much.
and that's the thing because you talk about, dreams and that's your book Building Dreams and so forth, but it's that vision, but then turning that vision into reality. And so in the book, I talk about the real drivers that build value in a business. And there's a ton of real drivers. And I could talk about like why and how that all came to be. But there's one that is true for all businesses. And the one thing that is true globally is around a vision. And then I use the term magnetic vision because one just can't have a vision. If somebody has a vision and doesn't tell everybody about it, it does nothing. But they need to go out and tell people about that vision. And in your book, you talk about you can have a dream, but now you need to do something with it. Matter
100%.
of fact, I would say people have a moral obligation to do something with it.
Mm.
And that's the same with the vision. And you sharing your vision, go out and share it with others. And then becomes magnetic, it attracts, but not only does it retract, as importantly, it repels. Because not everything should be attracted to it, but you need the people, the resources that are going to help turn that vision into a reality to make it go. And when one thinks about building a valuable business, I think that is the gem within the book is that. And matter of fact, there was only like a page or two kind of dedicated to that. And
Hmm.
one of my future book is going to be unpacking magnetic vision
Oh, okay.
to a greater extent.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah,
No, definitely. Vision, like you said, both in our books, I think vision is what drives us, right? You
very much
can't
so.
really, yeah, you can't really do anything without having a vision and a plan. And for me, a dream is just a word.
Right.
If you don't want to do anything about it.
Yes.
And that's something that I always tell the next generation or anybody that's trying to accomplish something or trying to make a name for themselves.
Mhm.
The dream is free, but the hustle is,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
like that.
sold separately. So,
Yeah,
so for me,
I'm gonna borrow that line.
no,
Yeah.
I don't think it's mine. I've heard
Okay.
it from somewhere
Okay.
else
Okay.
too. Yeah,
Well, all great things get repeated, so
right,
that's
right.
good.
Yeah, I really like it that way. No, but I'm looking forward to it though. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm sure it's a reason. It's a best Amazon seller for a reason. So I will let you know for sure.
Thank you.
Once,
I appreciate
no,
that.
definitely, definitely. As someone who worked with countless startups, what separates the companies that scale successfully from those that stay stuck? I guess.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the thing that I've seen quite a bit is really the mindset.
Hmm.
Why people get stuck and why they're able to take it to the next level is really the mindset. And so with companies and early stage companies, it's really about the founder.
Okay.
And they can have a vision and they can have the things that help them get there, but they need to have that mindset to keep going. Because I know you've experienced it, I've experienced it, everybody's experienced it. We all hit obstacles. And by the way, I love Ryan Holiday's book, The Obstacle is the Way,
Awesome.
but that people need to have that mindset, instead of like, woe is me, there's another obstacle. But if you can turn lemons into lemonade and be positive about like, hey, that's not a problem, that's actually a good thing, and let's work through that. And I think that's the biggest thing where I've seen entrepreneurs be really successful in being able to break out is to have that positive mindset to be able to do so.
Awesome, awesome. No, and I can relate to that because that stuck stage is it's it's a stage that you don't ever want to be, because
Yeah.
it even translates to you coming to work every day.
Right.
Imagine going to a company that's really stuck and you're like, okay, today I'm dreading work. I
Yes.
really don't want to go. So it's all about the mindset, and it starts at the top.
Yeah.
Whatever the the top dudes, uh, setting that culture is what the company will follow, right?
Right. Well, and I love that you brought up the word culture. I think
Yeah.
that's so important because, a really good culture is going to be helping people understand the impact of positive mindset. And, you could think about like the work of back in the day, Napoleon Hill, and there's all sorts of work. I would even say, Tony Robbins and so forth. But there's a lot of work around that and available to people, but especially within a company to have leadership that actually is encouraging people and reminding people to lean into that is a big unlock.
Awesome. And how often do you think, or when do you think a company should be scaling after a startup? Is it year two, year three, year
Mhm.
four? A lot of people feel like right after they start a company, they're ready to scale. What would you say?
I, I love the question because my answer is this: it's when the founder, when the business owner is ready to scale. I don't think it's about the time. We're invested in a number of companies that have been grinding at it for 20 years. And it's only recently that they've started to get to a point where they're able to really take it to the next level and to really build and grow. But it took them a long time, and it's because maybe life happened. They may have prioritized family or whatever the case may be, and that's great. And that's why I want to change the script a little bit because I think a lot of traditional business coaches, especially investors and other ecosystem players, they would have a strong opinion to your question. They would say, "Yeah, you should either know if this is viable or not within 18 months, and then you should really go and go big or go home." And I think that script needs to be challenged and changed because it's about the people and building a business that works for them. And, you know, knowing you, to the extent I do, it feels like that's how you've thought about things, building a business that can work for you and
Yes.
work for your family.
Hmm.
And does it matter if it's here or here and the timing in which that happened? I don't think so. Is it working for your family? Is it working for you as a human being? I think that's what really matters because when you start there, I think the rest takes care of itself.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful both together for sure. As long as it works for you and your family, that's all that matters. You mentioned that you invest with these different companies.
Yes.
Um, Hill Capital Corporation.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, with Hill Capital Corporation, we are investing in vision driven owners, business owners that have a sense of where they want to go and they need community and capital to help them get there.
Okay.
They're falling in between what they can get at a bank and what they can get or promise to a VC. So if they don't have the personal guarantees and collateral to provide a bank and they can't promise a 100x return to an angel or venture capitalist,
Mhm.
that's where Hill Capital plays. And so we're very concentrated on that owner, that business owner that wants to take it to the next stage. And that's where we develop those relationships and see it very much as a partnership and how we can help with our capital and our community to be able to help them get to the next stage of their growth. And one key differentiator too is what's important for us is profitable growth.
Mhm.
The reason why we're interested in profitable growth is
Yes.
because we want those business owners to have options.
Okay.
And if they're doing the traditional venture capital route that's dependent on the next round and the next round, then that's not a fit for us. Because what I don't like about that is that's where founders can run out of options. We want them to have options. So if they want to create a business that's generating profits, they can do that. If they want to take a round of venture capital, they can do that. If they want to exit, they can do that. But the key is they don't have to. And that's the problem with a lot of other sources of capital is it becomes the thing that drives the decision, especially on the sale of the business. And that's what we've really worked to change.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful, Patrick. And then, do you guys work with every industry? Are there industries that you really avoid? I guess is the question, right?
We are first and foremost, we're investing in the people
Okay.
because these businesses, like your business, it's all about you.
Yes,
It's about you making it happen, especially when times aren't good. So that's where we're looking for that partnership with
100%.
the owner, with the founder.
Mhm,
That's what matters to us. So that being said, we are agnostic to the industry. There are certain industries that are not going to be a good fit for us
mhm.
because frankly, they should be able to get the money that they need elsewhere. And so if a company owns a bunch of buses,
Yes,
right? Yeah, then they should be able to finance a lot of those buses through traditional
bank.
auto loans, banks, and stuff like that, because that hunk of metal is a real asset that
Yeah,
should be able to get quite a bit of loan value.
for
So
sure.
so somebody should maximize those things first.
Awesome,
Yep.
awesome. No, it's a great to know because
Yep.
you never know, when we'll be partnering up with Heal Capital,
Exactly. Well,
right?
that's what we look forward to, is
And I
working with
know,
great people like you.
no, appreciate it. And I know
Yeah.
transportation is usually a huge risk. Most of the times, banks look at transportation as such a huge risk because of the accidents and the longevity of the vehicle, or it loses value right away, the
Yeah.
depreciation and all of that stuff. So it could be a tough industry for us sometimes.
Well, but this is the key.
Mhm.
Where does risk get mitigated? It's with the people. It's with
Exactly.
you, and so that's what's really important.
No, definitely. I love the fact that you are investing in people,
Yep.
not the company itself. Because sometimes, how many CEOs have you seen, saved a company that was falling, or a company that was really at the bottom, and then the vision all of a sudden is different, and it's up here, like what Starbucks is going through right now, right?
Well, in the story I like to tell, I mean, most people now have forgotten about it because it
Mm,
was so long ago, but there are a lot of the great companies that are in Minnesota that they started out with really rough times.
mhm,
And one of them was 3M,
mm.
and
I didn't think about that.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
and so, like, the founding stories of 3M were very difficult, and it
yeah.
took a long time and took other people coming in to make that a reality, and so, of course, I'm not doing it justice by describing it, but
Mhm.
all these companies have gone through really difficult times,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what makes them great. It's the old saying is, to strengthen steel, it has to be heated up and under a lot of pressure and so on and so forth, and same thing with us as founders is how I think about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for explaining that, Patrick. I really appreciate it. You Money and mindset go hand in hand.
Yes.
What mental shift do entrepreneurs need to make to attract real investment and building long-term value?
The mental shift that entrepreneurs really need to have is confidence. And it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of outsiders or people looking into the world of entrepreneurship would be like, "Hey, entrepreneurs don't need any more confidence. They probably have too much." But the reality is that entrepreneurs have become good, decent at exuding external confidence, but they need it here in and day out. When things are tough, they need to be able to wake up, go execute when things aren't going well. And so they really need that deep levels of confidence, and they need support systems to help get there. Like we were talking about before we started recording,
Mhm.
the power of peer groups
Yeah.
like whether it's YPO or Entrepreneurs Organization,
Yes.
EO or
Yeah.
CEO Roundtable or whatever the case may be, people need that. But a lot of it, because I'm a longtime member of EO, and what I've come to find is like,
Beautiful organization, by the way.
yeah, then and really how we got to know each other. So
Exactly.
very grateful
Yeah, for
for
sure.
EO. Uh, but I think about that a lot because I'm confident in what I'm doing in Hill Capital, but it's the day to day, like when I get stuck on something, things aren't going well. But I've learned all these tools and tactics, a large part through EO, is like how to maintain that level of confidence and optimism to get through the tough times.
No, definitely. And
Yeah.
as soon as I ask you that question, because it's a confidence plays a big key in my life.
Yes.
And I'm in a place in my life right now where I tell myself, if I don't believe in myself, who will?
100%. I
You
love
know?
that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So I'm like, if you walk into a room and you're trying to close a deal and you have all of the knowledge and
Yep.
all of the tools to close that deal, and you don't believe in yourself, then you wasted a whole lot of opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's self-belief and confidence is like one of my biggest values that I go by every day.
Yes.
And
One thing that just went through my mind when you were saying that is you also need to invest in yourself.
yeah,
How are
100%.
you going to expect anybody to invest yourself when somebody's not doing it for themselves.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
that is another thing I learned through EO where I wasn't investing in myself enough. I hardly at all. My tank was running on empty.
Yeah,
If I think, 7 plus years ago, I mean, I was 30, 40 pounds heavier. The kids were young. They were more your kids' ages right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
And things were tough, stressful. Time was extremely precious. It always is, but when the kids are little, but I was taking no time to invest in myself. But through EO and other things, that's where I started doing retreats and taking time to, decompress and going on runs and working out, even though I still felt like I had a million other things going on. But when I invested in myself, it was a huge unlock.
No, you do look great. I've seen some older pictures,
Yeah.
and
No,
definitely,
no, that's it.
but you look the self investment is the best, and people think it's really an easy thing. It's not,
No,
you
no,
know.
no, it's not.
Being literally, I was watching some videos today. Motivation comes and goes, but
Big time.
having
Yeah.
that discipline every morning, if you don't have to get up, but you still have to do it and have to go work out and go for that run, is what separates you from the rest. So.
Exactly. And that was always, I was an early consumer of podcasts and
Mhm.
I loved this type of content. And there were some of the greats like Tim Ferriss, and they would always ask questions like, "What's your morning routine?" to all their guests. And I was like, why did they keep asking that? And I figured out it was like the morning routine by itself is huge.
Yeah.
There's books like The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod that didn't do much for me, but the 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma did. And that's when I learned like I have to get up in the morning and it's mind, body, soul.
Oh.
And and you can slice and dice it different ways, 20 minutes a piece or whatever, but you got to work on those three things every morning. And
Wow.
so when I started doing that every morning,
Mm.
big time changes.
Wow, awesome. No, really appreciate you. Since you brought that up, what's your
Yeah.
morning routine look like now?
Well, my morning routine can vary quite a bit depending on how much time I have, but at a
D
bare minimum, my morning routine is the first thing I get up and do is I stretch. I'm really big into stretching because I have realized the power of like when my muscles can move quite a bit and
Mhm.
then keep a strong core. So it's a lot of like core strengthening exercises, different things like around yoga, and then I will do some form of like journaling or reading a gratitude journal.
Oh, okay.
Or also, there's some things that I'll read like Anthony DeMello or The Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday.
No, okay.
So I'll spend some time just doing some reflections there. And then I like to get my heart rate up. And so whether that's taking a run or doing a little exercise workout or something like that. So those are the core of what I'm doing every morning.
And what time does your day start usually?
Well, my best days start at 5:30 in the morning,
Oh, okay.
but look at today, it started at 7 AM, and it's because my kids are now teenagers and people are going to bed at 11:30, even though if I went to bed earlier, but they're up and I hear these things and stuff too. So I try to give them grace and I try to give myself grace because I know they're only going to be in the house so much longer too. And I can,
Yeah.
but I try to get to bed early and get up at 5:30 because those are the best days when I can get up early.
Oh, definitely, definitely. As you know, I'm a basketball fan, and you know
Yes.
about sports a lot. And one time, I was listening to Kobe Bryant, the great Kobe
Yes.
Bryant, and he mentioned that his days start at like 4 a.m. And they asked him why, and he says the average person say wakes up at 7, and
Mhm.
I'm here waking up at 4, and I'm already ahead 3 hours ahead of that person in my
Exactly.
day, and he said, "Don't look at the 3 hours. Look how long that accumulates. A week, month, years. In 10 years," he said, "look how much ahead you're gonna be, of that person." So, waking up early, some of the times, when I hear those type of quotes, I'm like, "There's no reason for me to sleep," so.
Exactly. And it took the pandemic for me to get into that habit because
Mhm.
when I knew about these things, but then I was like, now I have no excuse because if I'm tired, I need to nap in the middle of the day, I could do so. But what I found out is like when I got up early, even if I was shorted on sleep, I had more energy than ever. So
Right?
taking a nap in the middle of the day was never on top of my mind, never
No,
happened.
and I don't remember the last time that I did.
No.
It's I know a lot of people talk about it's important, but when do we have time as a business owners to take a nap during
Yeah.
the day?
Well, one of the things I think it might have been Hal Elrod, but what's really interesting too is what I've come to appreciate is I'm really big into sleep. Like I try to protect my sleep. Like I need 8 hours.
Okay.
My body requires that. But you can make up for it. So if I get shorted, and stuff like that, and I make up for it on a weekend or whatever, like that is possible. And now that I've understood that, and I've felt that, I totally get it.
Yeah,
You can still have a ton of energy getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but at some point, you need to let the body recover.
for sure. It's all about time management and how you really
Exactly.
manage your time.
Yep.
You have been both an investor and entrepreneur. Which side is harder, I guess, building the company or evaluating it?
Well, that's the easiest question ever. Being an entrepreneur, far and away the hardest thing, far and away. Entrepreneurship is extremely difficult,
Very
and
difficult.
and it's the failure rates. I was just on a call here this morning,
Mhm.
talking about this, where it's the stats that are all over the internet. But the first five companies, it's less than 20% of them survive the first 5 years,
Yeah, for sure.
and those numbers are very real. And I've seen that for a long time. And so that's why the people I have the most respect for in this world are founders, are entrepreneurs. I just really respect the people that can take the risk of their assets, their resources, to go try something. And for those that can make it, it's huge. And then for a company that gets over $1 million, especially if they get over 5 million, so on and so forth, those are amazing things. So I think far and away that's the hardest. As an investor in evaluating things, kind of your question is like, is it hard to evaluate things? Yes, it can be, but the difference is quite vast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and now to follow up with that is when people hear the term entrepreneur
Yeah.
or a business owner, they think life becomes so easy, right? Oh, I'm my own business owner.
Yeah.
But one thing I always love telling people is, this is a part of our conversation, is that they don't see the lonely hours.
Yeah.
They don't see the many no's that you've heard in your
No.
life.
No.
They don't see the many embarrassments,
Right.
moments and stuff like that. So all they see is just the finished product.
Very
They
much
see,
so.
right? So for me, entrepreneurship, even though I'm not trying to discourage people, but it's not for everyone. I feel like you have to have a tough skin to be able to take that risk
Yeah.
and walk away from a job that could, like, for example, I was working at a company before I started my business, and I was
Yes.
making a good money, and I was single. I didn't have any family.
Mhm.
And the day that I decided to quit, everybody was laughing at me. And like, what are you doing? Like, you really sure you're taking this risk?
Yeah.
Have you assessed this risk? Is this the right move for you? Who have you talked to? And the answer was so simple for me. I talk to myself
Yep.
because that's the only person that I make these decisions with.
Yes.
And taking that risk, I don't regret it.
No.
I don't regret it, and I'm sure you agree the same thing. And
Well, and I love that you talked about that right away in your book, and you
yeah,
have a beautiful email that you had sent to your employer,
yes, yeah,
being very gracious and grateful for your experience there, and
yeah,
and that's so important because when that transition is important. I would encourage everybody to think about entrepreneurship because one doesn't necessarily need to quit a job.
for
I'm a
sure.
big believer that somebody could have what some might call a side hustle, but they
Yeah,
might develop a product and sell it on Etsy or whatever the case may be. Would highly encourage it. But yeah, to make a full leap where now their sole source of income is going to rely upon them doing entrepreneurship, it's a huge leap, especially to leave something that feels, safe and stable in terms of a W-2 full-time employment
right,
somewhere.
right. No, for sure. And one of the things that I really run into usually is when I see a the younger generation
Yeah.
come up to me and say, "Hey, I want to start my own business,"
Yeah.
because the internet, right, tells us to go ahead and start a business, right?
Well, now it's ChatGPT. It just tell you right in a heartbeat.
Right, right,
Yeah.
for sure, right? So I always tell them, go work at a big corporation,
Yeah.
go learn transferable skills,
Yep.
be in an environment where you become uncomfortable,
Right.
learn how to deal with different people from different backgrounds,
Yeah.
and take all of that. And if you want to start a business, apply to that later.
Yeah.
Because for me, I believe you can't just graduate from college and start a business. An interesting question that I have for you: do you feel like college guarantees success?
Oh, no, not at all. My
Not
son's in college right now, and we
okay.
talked a lot about this going to college, and he's in college, and and actually, I'll tie this back to something that really resonated that you just said. I
Mhm.
love that you give advice to people like go put yourself in uncomfortable
For
situations,
sure.
and that is so important. And I think that's where I hadn't thought about it through this lens, but I think that's maybe where college gets a little flawed is because while it may feel uncomfortable for those first couple weeks when they go off to college, the
Mhm.
reality is it's a very comfortable setting. And
100%.
and it's in the scheme of life, it's easy to show up to class and so on and so forth. But entrepreneurship is full tilt, being uncomfortable, and a lot of those students are still they may have grown up in an environment where things were provided to them and they didn't have to think about all of the things, and they can actually continue to do that through college, and then life really slaps them in the face whenever they have to go figure anything out on their own. So therefore, I do think it's way more important for people to learn those types of real life lessons and go out there and to pursue what's important for them. The reason why when I was young, it was still really important, back in the 90s, that people go off to college and stuff like that. That pendulum was still swinging,
Mhm.
because that would, I think there was a better case study to like guarantee success insofar as that's ever a guaranteeable thing. But that pendulum, I think, has swung too far. And now it's taken away from people going into the trades right away or going and doing what they're most interested in. And I think what I would encourage, especially young people and parents, to think about is like support those young people in what they want to do and how they want to get there. And if college is part of the answer,
Mhm.
great.
Great.
But if they are very interested in doing something like working with their hands and building
Plumber,
beautiful
electrician, whatever.
furniture like this,
Mhm.
they should go pursue those things. Because the thing I don't like about college is it has become a system where people are now becoming so indebted that they have no other choice other than to go work for the highest paying job that is offered to them. And I've seen, and you're nodding your head, I'm sure you've seen it too. I've seen
100%.
a lot of miserable people in those
Oh,
situations
yeah. Oh, yeah.
where they may have wanted to go do some volunteer work or go on a mission or whatever the case may be, but now they've got 50 or 100, several $100,000 in debt, and they have to go work for a big corporation and try to maximize their earnings.
Mhm.
And I think that's a really sad state of affairs, that I don't know about other countries, but is very prevalent in the United States. There's a lot of people that don't have a lot of other choices because they're so indebted on their student loans. And oh, by the way, that's debt that will never be forgiven in bankruptcy. And that's why I think a lot of our colleges and a lot of the higher ed has actually taken away a lot from entrepreneurship in the United States,
Mhm.
because a lot of these people can't afford to be entrepreneurs. They can't afford to take that risk because that loan payment is due every
Every
month.
month. And I'm one of them. I'm one of those borrowers for
Mhm.
sure. And it's a great way that you put it out there. For me, the time you're in school
Yeah.
and you say you're taking like $100,000 student loan.
Yeah.
Nobody asks you backgrounds. Nobody checks your credit. It's just automatic, right?
Yeah.
But go out there and ask for $10,000 business loan,
No, it's
right?
crazy.
So
Yeah.
the old college tradition lifestyle
Yeah.
it has to come to an end. I feel like it's a trap.
It is a trap.
Mhm.
And look at, I think there's a decent percentage of people works well for. If
Mhm.
there's a young person that's like, I know I want to be an attorney and this is what I want to do for life, and I want to be an attorney and go into politics, and they go to law school
Fine.
and they have to take debt on, by all means.
Yeah.
I just think it's really sad when people go take all that debt, not truly knowing what they want to do, and then are to find out that they've got all this debt and they figure out their passion is elsewhere other than what they studied for. I mean, in my world, look at like attorneys is stuff like that. Up until recently, I knew way more attorneys who were trying to figure out how not to be attorneys than they were in practicing law.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just sad,
Yeah.
but, when they invested all that, energy to get their, Juris Doctorate, and then, and then to have debt on it, they can't do anything other than that.
Yeah, and they don't get to enjoy what they do on day to day, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that's a question that I always like to ask everybody that comes on this podcast because it could have so many different answers, but
Very much so.
right,
Yeah.
but definitely I love the fact that you think it doesn't guarantee success. What's one financial habit or principle you wish every young entrepreneur understood before launching their venture?
One habit I wish everybody knew
Yeah,
was simple: know your numbers. That's
beautiful,
it. Just
beautiful.
know your numbers. So I talk about this a lot in the book
Okay.
because owning a business, numbers can get complicated really fast.
Yes.
And and accountants, finance professionals can nerd out real quick and throw around all sorts of words and acronyms and stuff like that. That's over the head of the vast majority of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
So that's what I share is to just know your numbers. And in the book, I said there's one thing that really matters is like know your cash balance. As elementary as that sounds, like know where your cash is. Because one of the best entrepreneurs I ever met, he always knew his bank account balance. And I always thought that was a little bit laughable. I'm like, well, what about this, that, and the other thing? He's like, look it. He goes, I know the health of my business based on the balance in my bank account. And I realized that he, you know, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Beautiful.
And that's what Kevin had done is he had gotten to a point where he had able to simplify it to one number. He knew where they were at based on his bank account balance. So what I share in the book is I said, here's the three things, the cash management trifecta. Know your cash balance,
Hmm.
know what others owe you
Okay.
and what you owe others.
Oh, okay.
And so we could talk about receivables, payables, and all those things that
Hmm.
make that up, but it's that simple. Because if you know how much cash you have, what others owe you, and what you owe
Yeah.
others,
Hmm.
and your cash and what is owed to you is greater than what you owe others, you're probably in pretty good shape. And if I were to meet with somebody that was able to kind of articulate
Hmm.
high level where they're at with their finances and where they need to go over time,
Hmm.
like that would be a beautiful day. I've yet to really have that type of a conversation with people. They're able to share their financials and they've got big whiz bang ideas, but I really look forward to the day where I can meet more entrepreneurs that just know a couple of their key numbers and what matter to them.
Beautiful, beautiful, and it's almost like we think alike because I feel like it's a numbers game. When you start a business,
Yeah.
it's all about numbers, and I always, to me, the most important person in my company is the people that do my accounting.
Yes.
So because therefore I know where every penny goes and where every penny comes from, obviously,
Yes.
right? But with some business owners, they will tell you, "Oh, I'm too small to have an accountant," and I'm like, "No, you're not." And
Huh.
I'll tell you the reason why
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not. Yes, having an accountant in house, yeah, it could be costly,
Yeah.
but at this day and age, how many consultants that are out there that could do your numbers for fraction of what the person that you bring in would charge you, right? So I feel like that's the most important person that can tell you your numbers and then where they go.
Yeah, and completely agree. The one thing I would just make sure is that as the owner, that's where the buck stops. The
Yes.
the owner has to know those numbers and people can definitely help them with them. But bad things happen when the owners don't know their numbers.
Oh,
And that's where all the fraud happens, all sorts of stuff because they outsource too much trust to a bookkeeper or whatever and all of a sudden,
so
money
be in
goes
control.
missing. But yeah, so you always have to know the numbers, but then you can get help compiling the numbers and so on and so forth. Yes.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
No, no, I still believe that's you have to be a driver of your own business
Yes,
and
very
look at
much
those
so.
apps,
Yeah. Yeah.
log in and see what's, because you never know, like you
You
said,
never know.
you never know. In your experience, Patrick, what's the most undervalued skill that leads to sustainable growth, not just in business, but in life in general, man?
So the thing that leads to sustainable growth
Yeah,
is really that positive mental attitude. It's that mindset, and we dove in that quite a bit
awesome.
earlier. But I think that is really it.
Yeah,
That is the unlock, and we can tie these things in a lot of things that we talked about regarding confidence and mindset and so forth. But again, it's about that positive mindset. Um, my wife likes to remind me, assume positive intent. It's like, I have a history of that. And maybe it's because when days when my mom was sick or something like that, you get a phone call like, oh, now what?
yeah.
But it's like just you got to learn those little tiny habits with that positive mental attitude that can be very helpful.
Beautiful.
And I think that would help with a lot of like entrepreneurs and a lot of people struggle with mental health and stuff like that. And I think that's something that could be really beneficial to people is just
Yeah.
to try to keep that positive mindset.
No, beautiful. And the positive mindset always, I will tie it back there to the house.
Yeah.
As business owners, there are a lot of days that we have bad days.
Yes.
And for me, one thing I look forward to is getting home and see those young
Yeah.
faces, right?
See what matters.
Right?
Yeah.
See what matters. And as soon as they run into you, it's like your day never existed,
Yeah.
right? So for me, that's one thing I always tell people, if you have a beautiful family, that's your how,
Yeah.
and that, I mean, that's your why. You have to know your why. And for me, if you ask me, that's for my girls and
Yeah.
that's for my family. And they matter more than anybody. And just gives me sense of joy of life, I think,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you'll agree that with me as a father. And
Oh,
uh,
yep, 100%.
right, because they will always be there for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure, Patrick. I really enjoy this segment for sure.
Yeah, likewise.
Get a couple of more questions for you. You have worked with visionary leaders across industries. What's the one quality all high performing entrepreneurs share? What's one thing that they have in common?
Well, the one thing I think that all high performers have is that view of the future. So
Mhm.
we also talked about that vision I
Yeah.
think is very, very important. The highest performers not only have a vision, but they're out there talking about it and they're attracting resources to it. So you think about like all the highest performers,
Mhm.
you think about like Howard Schultz and Steve Jobs, and you can think about like various people, like they had a view of where they were going. My firm's named after James J. Hill, and he built out the only privately financed transcontinental railway in the history of the United States. Started
Okay.
out of here in St. Paul, Minnesota.
I didn't know. Beautiful.
And
Mhm.
but he had a vision. He wanted to get to the West Coast because it would open up the market to the Orient. And all that would mean for, I mean, the United States didn't even exist as it did today when
Yeah.
he was building out the railway, but he knew that that huge unlock would be, and was able to attract resources to make it happen. So that's the thing I think a lot about is like, for those really high performing entrepreneurs, they're actively talking about where they want to go, why they want to go. And that's why I was thinking about you when I came into your beautiful offices here.
Appreciate it.
You've got it, you just the way you have it decorated, in the people that you celebrate, like you mentioned, Kobe Bryant and the former president of Somalia,
Somalia.
and
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo. We're
Yeah.
talking about Ronaldo because we both love soccer. We
Of
should
course.
say football.
Yeah, yeah.
And um, in all those great leaders. But you think about them because the one leader on that wall really stands out, and it's Martin Luther King Jr.
Yes.
because he's probably got the most famous vision out there, right? Of somebody like making a statement and saying, I have a dream, like I've got something I'm thinking about that it could be someday. And then allowing people to like work towards that. I think it's extremely powerful in entrepreneurship. So that's where I think about high performers. Kobe Bryant, all those athletes, they knew they wanted, a title or to get their personal records or whatever the case may be. And we're talking about the book by, it was a Tim Grover,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
winning and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
Kobe's. And back in
Trainer.
the day, it was actually, he started as Michael Jordan's
Michael
trainer.
Jordan's. Yeah, yeah.
And Michael Jordan was on your wall as well.
Yeah.
But you think about that type of stuff. That was what all those high performers have in common.
Yeah, definitely. No, I love how you tied that to the people that I have on my wall.
Yeah.
And it's a reason,
Yeah.
these people, no excuses every day. They roll their sleeves and actually did what matters the most. And that's
Yeah.
just, inspiring others
Yeah.
and being different. Like Steve Jobs says, think
Yeah. Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You've seen that picture. It's just the future, man. It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome. And I know last time I saw you at the entrepreneur rally
Yes.
when you interviewed A-Rod,
Yes.
and how
Yeah.
beautiful that was.
Oh, he was
And
wonderful to talk with.
right. I've gained so much from that segment, to be quite honest with you. And when I thought about this podcast, I really thought about that moment
Yes.
when you
Yeah.
sat down with him.
Yes.
And I was like, it's so amazing that I'm sitting across table across Patrick and interviewing him now knowing that, how beautiful that was.
Yes.
So it was such a great moment to see for sure.
I just had a shiver down my spine
Yeah.
because ironically that day when we talked with Alex Rodriguez at
Yeah.
the Entrepreneurs Rally, we had some of the kind of a similar dialogue, but he talked about the importance of confidence. You remember all
Yeah, yeah,
that?
I
Like it was
do.
like,
I do. I do.
yeah, it was like,
As a
and
young
so,
boy, yeah.
oh yeah,
No, it was beautiful, man. It's
yeah,
beautiful. I really enjoyed that time. Patrick, if someone is watching this right
yeah.
now and has a great idea but no capital, what's your advice on how they can turn that idea into foundable business?
Yeah, I love that. Um, I would encourage people to get going and to validate.
Mhm.
So Steve Blank back in the day had published a book called Four Pillars to the Epiphany, I
Mhm.
think is the title. And then one of his proteges, Eric Rees, wrote a book called The Lean Startup.
Mhm.
I would think a lot about those types of bodies of work, but the 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 punchline is like go out there, start to validate it. So even if you don't have a fully cooked product or service, you could go out there and start interviewing what would be potential customers of that product or service and validating the market and getting an understanding what that looks like. Because as that gets validated, that just takes grit and hustle to get out there and to do those things. So there's a lot of things that can be done free or really cheap. That doesn't really need a whole lot of money to be able to do that. And I would encourage people to really lean into to do that. Because I think a lot of times a lot of founders have the mindset of like, but I need to raise money first, or I need this first. It's like, no, no, no. Go out there and start to validate it. Because once an idea is validated and there's some meat on the bone and
Mhm.
something's there,
Mhm.
there's no shortage of money. There's a lot of money out in the world in the ecosystem.
Yes, for sure.
Um, but it feels like it's not there to a lot of entrepreneurs because they haven't fully validated something. They're still stuck too much in a concept risk versus an execution risk.
Okay.
And people want to put money towards things that they know a dollar can go in and can create another couple dollars
Dollars,
at a
yeah.
minimum worth of value.
Yes.
But if it's still too stuck into an idea phase, that's really tough for investors. And so go validate because there's a lot that can be done there.
Okay, Patrick, a question that everyone loved to hear the answer to. If you had $100,000
Okay.
cash today,
Sure.
how would you invest that?
I would invest it in myself, and it would likely be in the form of starting a business.
Okay.
It would be starting something that would be an economic engine for me and my family.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the best things that somebody can invest in that can truly build breakout wealth. And I use wealth on purpose because it's not about money per se, but wealth is about the things that are important to you, the family that allows for lifestyle or whatever the case may be. And I think of wealth as like freedom,
Yes.
the ability to do the things that one wants. And I think investing $100,000 wisely
Mhm.
in business or something that works well for that person would work extremely well. I'm a stock investor. I love those things. There's things we
Oh, you
could
into
talk
stocks?
about
Okay.
there,
Mhm.
but if I just had to do one thing, I would start with myself and then go from there.
Awesome. Awesome. That's beautiful. Which leads to my next question.
All right.
A lot of people say, in investment, stocks or real estate. Which one would you
Oh, that
lean?
is easy. Stocks all day long.
Really?
Yes.
More risks than something that
No,
would.
there's not as much risk. That's the perceived notion. Real estate, there's a couple things guaranteed with real estate. One,
Okay.
you're going to have a headache. You got to have follow-ups. A lot of real estate, you have tenants
Okay.
and stuff like that. You have to pay taxes on it. I buy Berkshire Hathaway and forget about it, and it doesn't cost me any more time and money like real estate would.
So you would advise people invest in stocks before real estate?
I
Personally?
that's where I come from. I've got a lot of real estate investor friends. I get it. People who love real estate, they do well, but I hate the idea of having to go plunge the toilet at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you
yeah.
got a bad tenant.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
they can have the excess profits from real estate all day long.
This concludes our segment. To my viewers, I hope that you've learned so much from Patrick, as much as I did today,
Yes.
because I've done learning never stops, and you've always
Yeah, I
got,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, you always got great ideas to share, my friend, and I cannot wait until I read your book. To anybody watching, go grab this book from Amazon. You can find it from Amazon. It's one of the best Amazon sellers in that website, and you will thank me later because I've seen the reviews, I've seen what others are saying, and
Well, likewise, man. I know you've got about 35-star reviews and it's about to be 31. So,
thank you,
you've done a wonderful job here and you've got wonderful reviews as you should.
thank
So
you, my friend.
thanks
I
for
really
sharing all
appreciate
your
it.
knowledge.
Thank you,
Yeah.
appreciate it, guys.